we are going to discuss archetypes and what an archetype is, and really why the relationship code is really kind of using that as a structure and way to hold its information. So this conversation is just going to unpack and feel into the importance of structure and how this word archetype is used in all sorts of different situations, and you've probably heard about it before, but we're just going to land what that means to the relationship code and how that sort of plays out in our lives. So firstly, let's hear from you, Jen, about what you think an archetype is and why it's important to your work.
An archetype and how it's so valuable for the relationship code. The journey with that started with, for me, I'll start again. The journey with archetypes started when I had been 10, 15 years of unpacking the patterns in people's lives through hands-on bodywork. So I started to notice the pattern and the story people were telling themselves, the roles that they cast themselves in their life, particularly where the volume was turned up on, say, example, being a warrior in their life, being the provider in their life, being the father in their life, being the winner in their life, being the chairman in their life, created a certain tone and texture, posture in the framework of the body, patterns, thoughts and beliefs, which then created the way that they acted in the world, what they thought they brought to the world, what they thought they brought to their relationships. And for years it fascinated me because I love reading books where there's an interesting hero or heroine, the character in the book. And that's what I started noticing in people, was they had become their character in their life. And behind the character sits the foundational archetypes, which in a way were certain qualities or attributes that the volume had got really turned up on those. And you can imagine where a volume gets turned up in someone's characterization, it's like they're stuck in a script. They're stuck in a few radio stations that they are tuned into, both how they see the world, but also how they respond to the world. And this journey of archetypes just took me deeper and deeper and deeper, looking at how a personification of an archetype is really what relationship is about. And the deeper and deeper I've taken this, the more and more relationship has made sense.
Beautiful. So it sounds like you're saying that people are walking around it's like a costume party, right? So they have a particular costume on and they're being a particular character, kind of unawares. How do you describe the archetypes, Dan? And what is that? What is it to you? And do you identify with any particular archetypes more than others?
So for me, it is a quick and powerful way of explaining concepts, both for myself and others. So I get it when people share with me an archetype and when I share, because it's one thing to use a list of words or descriptive words. However, sometimes it's far quicker and more powerful to say, for example, the energy, for example, of like Kelly Slater, the surfer, you know. You can just feel that love, that passion for the water, the waves, chilled and relaxed and not taking life too seriously, letting things come and go, and it is what it is. That's an archetype, the surfer, your classic surfer. It's an archetype. Or you could say Nelson Mandela. Very different energy. Both have got great qualities, but Nelson Mandela is far more, serious and looking about this has to happen, this is important, and holding a lot of energy and tension and thinking ahead and planning and strategizing. So, like your classic, like a leader like Nelson Mandela is a different archetype. So it helps me explain it to people, but it has also helped me go, well, where in my life maybe is there some energy and some archetype which I could bring on board and take for a test run. And so that's how it's been so helpful for me to go, I see where maybe I could do things differently or bring more of that archetype in, and it's transformed my life.
Beautiful. So one of the things you talked about before, Dan, was your ability to kind of know which archetype that you're in and what a situation might need you to be. I mean, if you just think back to, your last few days, what archetypes have you been in the last couple of days?
So the last few days has been very similar to what I was and what was going wrong in our relationship, which was I'd moved so much into this kind of get stuff done, like the workhorse, and I'd stopped actually giving myself time to just breathe in. I didn't have enough of the surfer archetype, and when our relationship was under a lot of pressure, I thought I just had to work harder and do more of the workhorse, like donkey, call it the donkey mode. Pack more packs on my back and work even harder so that I would be loved. And the actual solution was, no, you need more surfer. Feel loved, become loved, love yourself, and that was the answer. So it's very powerful. And that's been happening. The last week or so I've been very busy, a lot of putting the backpacks on and working so hard and just being able to go, so where am I? I'm in that place. Wow, I need to take a break. I need some time for me. So
how does that affect you, Jen, when Dan's in a, what did he call it, the donkey
mode?
Donkey
Workhorse
mode. So can you be in that mode too, or when he's in a particular mode, does that affect you? What's the dynamic between the archetypes?
Yeah, the dynamic in the archetypes, it creates the field, the living field through which I would relate to Dan. So when Dan is, say he's got the volume on the donkey mode turned up, and I enter connection or the space, straight away what I feel is, I'm not doing enough, I'm doing less than. So instantly, the way I go with this is I instantly feel guilty because he's working so hard, I'm not doing enough. So I have two options, either to try and draw him out of that mode or to pretend I'm doing as much as he is. So then it becomes who's wearing the badge of honor for being busy? So I've been busy doing this and this and this to match the level of donkey. So I come in saying my level of donkey is matching yours. So it becomes that self-fulfilling prophecy of when only one archetype is welcome or amplified or the volume is turned up, it literally reaches a threshold where something has to change or capitulate or something has to give. So donkey mode, when Dan's in donkey mode, I get quite agitated. In my body, I feel I should probably be cleaning or cooking or prepare or compensating for this excessive work that I sense is happening here. Does that put me in a place of loving connection? Does that really let my inner mother? That's another archetype I know really well, that nurturer. Does it bring the nurturer online? No, because the donkey mode has no place for the lover, the nurturer, and the mother energy. So it's not that it's broken, it's not that it's wrong. We just now start to recognize these are patterns that play out. And I would have my version of donkey mode, which would be very different and would probably evoke a similar undesirable response for Dan in the same way.
Would it be okay if you just demonstrate what happens when you come in from mowing the lawns in donkey mode, and how do you transition out of that, or what do you want from Jen in that situation? Could you role play what? This sounds like a similar kind of pattern that happens a bit, right? So what do you do? So
the big thing I'd like to emphasize first is the awareness of where you are is almost the key, because it's often not that it's wrong. However, if you're not aware you're in it, it's hard to get out of it. If you're aware you're in it, and the second part is having some options, then I can get out of it and move into a better archetype. So when I come in like from work, or if I'm in that, I just want to emphasize, donkey's not like a stupid donkey, a fool. It's like more of a workhorse as well. So I'm like a workhorse. If I'm in the workhorse mode, like I've been at work or I've been in the office, and I'm in my head kind of just holding this energy, I might say, so I almost come in and like, hey babe, how are you doing? Love you. How's your day been? And my brain isn't with you. Yeah.
And I can feel straight away. I'm trying to get in front of him. I'm trying to actually get in front of your gaze.
You're distracting me. Because I'm in my workhorse mode.
He's on a mission.
Yeah.
I can feel you're on a mission.
I ask you how you are. What's the problem?
I can feel you're on a mission.
When I'm aware that I'm on mission mode.
So instantly, when he's on a mission, I instantly go, I'm the problem. I need to get out of the way. Like instantly. So my nervous system, my body's like, I'm not safe to be in this, because he's on such a mission that I'm going to be the problem. I'm going to be getting in the way. I might as well, I shouldn't be here.
So just my awareness of if I'm on total mission mode, what that does for you, and when I'm on a mission kind of workhorse mode, realizing I'm in it now, I know what that can do, so I can kind of turn it down before I even meet you.
Yeah, and this is where I go. So I can. It's interesting. I feel like it's like my heart. It's not withdrawn, but there's a contraction. It's like it's tight. There's not much space to breathe. It's like he needs all the oxygen in the room because he's on the mission. But what I can feel I would do if you didn't know you're in the workhorse donkey mode, is I'd start crashing around. I would start slamming cupboards. I would pour that, but I would make sure I banged that jug down. So I can feel that this workhorse, it's like I want to say, hey, do you know where you are? Hey, it's like, come back here. So this is a pattern, right? And I hope we, and you can feel like there's a lot of energy. He's getting a headache because I'm saying you're in your head. Can you feel your body
And where I go
That's
is, what's your problem? What's your problem? I'm the one that's been working all day. I'm the workhorse. How come you've got a problem? You haven't done nearly as much as what I've done.
And this is what happens in relationship. Now we're in the territory of comparison and competition, because he's winning I've got the gold medal as the workhorse. So now he could justify that if he'd done more and I'd done less, and he's better and I'm worse. And this is the tension that starts to create that dynamic of who's worth more. This is so common in relationships, because to justify the intensity of being in one archetype only, for example, the workhorse, he now would need to say, I am worth more. This is more worthy. So therefore, whatever this archetype I'm sitting in is less than. And that is where a lot of the tension or the charge or the intensity of us not being able to meet. I hope, I can feel in my body, this is not a place of the heart. I can't be met in the heart. I'm being met in the hard. So this is the territory of hard work. This is not heart work. So our conversation, our way of navigating each other in the kitchen, how would Dan and I take this energy to the bedroom? I mean, how's that going to go? It's not going to go particularly well, because we're not in a space where it would be fast and quick, right? Because it's on a mission, end result in mind.
If I was lucky.
Yeah, but I'm now feeling like he's, I don't want to borrow it. I don't want to go near this energy.
And if we rewind it, what's fascinating for me is the awareness around, I'm in the workhorse mode. Is this the best archetype energy to bring to this situation where I'm going to see Jenny for the first time in maybe 8 or 10 or 3 hours or whatever? Or is there another energy archetype I can become? And once I'm aware of that and make that subtle shift, it's not when it used to be really hard because I didn't understand what that shift was, but now I can. It's a simple breath in, breath out, drop in. I see you, I feel you. I can see you seeing me. I can feel you.
And my feeling is when he's in that archetype of the workhorse, so I want to bring myself more into the heart, more into the body, more into my nature. So in a way, I would bring more of a playfulness. I'd bring more of a child energy, a playfulness. I'd want to drag him away to the ocean. I would want to say, bring the surfer online, essentially. So and this is the way archetypes often work, is when one side gets turned up, the volume gets really, really turned up. It's almost the opposite you need to bring at yourself back to the center, where you can go, where am I? Who am I? And then from that place we have choice. I call it my wriggle room. When there's a lot of tension, there's no wriggle room. I'm going to get it wrong. There's going to be fallout. There's going to be hurt feelings. There's going to be an elephant in the room at the end of the day. So what we're looking at here is recognizing the archetype in self. In partnership, you get the mirror turned back. So the mirror gets reflected pretty quickly, and then we have a choice how to work with that. So yeah, that part that wants to nurture, that wants to bring playfulness back, to tell the warrior, like, clock in, you're off duty now.
And I can also feel how when I'm in that workhorse and Jenny's in that feeling like she's done something wrong mode, that's when it can all go wrong, because there's no almost connection. And so if we start communicating, it can go very wrong very quickly, because neither of us has got that open heart, kind of almost a landing strip to receive the other's truth. Where are you at? However, when you come with that open heart into that connection, which, we're talking about 60 seconds, 30 seconds, come into that relationship, there's a landing strip. How are you? And you can share from your heart, I feel overwhelmed.
Yeah.
And it's like, got it. Come here, let me give you a hug. Wow. It's like a ripple effect, like a stone in the pond.
You, in a way, you dissolve that role. You stop being that role in the moment. And with the archetypes, energy, what's so beautiful, the change in state can happen in milliseconds, as opposed to 3 weeks of stonewalling and being at loggerheads with no capacity to even describe the intensity of what is being felt, but doesn't have words. So it's one of the gifts for me about the archetype work, is the ability to shift and change state and evoke a completely different connection and therefore conversation through life.
Beautiful. Yeah, you demonstrated that really nicely, that immediacy and ability to shift. In the previous conversation, we talked about self and needing to know self first, and that kind of individuation of self. It really sounds like that is what you just demonstrated. And then your navigation of yourself and which archetype you're being during the relationship with Jen in that moment, but also when you're out in the world, right? So let's just unpack a little bit this idea of navigation. I mean, you talked about you wanted to be the surfer, or you were the surfer, and then you're the warrior. And so, like, how do you know how to change state, and how do you know, like, who you need to be in certain moments? It's all very heady and confusing sometimes. So it feels like the relationship code is trying to simplify some of this into a pattern which your body can remember, to say, maybe there's just a couple of archetypes that you can think about. Where am I on this map today? Who do I want to be for my kids? Who do I want to be for my work? And who do I want to be in my relationship? So it feels like, let's just land the archetypes and the headiness of that into the relationship code, right? So the relationship code has simplified these concepts you've got 4 archetypes. But we don't even need to talk about really what they are. I'd really like you to just explore about, that self and how you look in the mirror about where you are a little bit. And we talked about kind of common patterns. Dan showed us like the beauty of how he changed in that moment. So I'm really keen to understand about like that self-navigation is the thing. I think it's a hard thing for people to do when you're polarized by your partner. So how do you navigate yourself in that polarity?
For me, it comes back to almost like if you imagine an emotional human map. The relationship code, like when you can see all the 4 archetypes and you understand what they are, it takes a bit of practice, but you start to be able to go, where am I in this moment? Like I can do it right now, in this moment now, I can go, where am I? And I know where I am, I'm about there. That's a good space for this situation. And when you get to know it, you go, where am I? And you go, I'm actually in completely the wrong part, because you become aware of it. It's almost like a house, when you know your house really well, you know what part of the house, and then you suddenly go, well, I'm trying to cook some food here. I'm trying to cook dinner. Where am I? I'm in the bedroom. Not a good place. And you go, I've got to get out of this. So the awareness is the first piece. And the second piece is then developing those archetypes. When you know, I've got none of that.
So how do you get over yourself when you're in the bedroom and your partner's in the kitchen, and you want them to be in the bedroom and you should be somewhere else? Like, how does that switching and that between? It's like there's a dynamic there, which is there's a tension. So I'm really curious about what happens between your individual and then the we, and the dynamic of the we.
The tension that exists when life is feeding back to me that something's off or something's needing change. Tension for me is often a call to action, and it's, can I navigate what that action is in the moment? So when I feel that tension and say, Dan's trying to cook dinner, but he's found himself in the bedroom and I'm in the kitchen stomping around, whatever, but I'm feeling a tension, that is the place where I get out of the kitchen. So I might not go into the bedroom to drag him out to put him in the kitchen. That's what often happens in relationship, is the other one making the other one do what they think they should do. However, if I'm feeling my tension and I vacate the kitchen, I move away, and I sit back on the couch, and maybe I start just putting on some amazing Italian music, and it feels like that music is all about like pasta and pizza and community and good wine. And I pour that wine, and Dan from the bedroom...
Do you want me to make dinner, babes?
Yeah, exactly.
So we have Italian.
So it calls or evokes or opens up a space, an opportunity for somebody, for your partner, to feel like they would prefer, like they would like to choose to be in a whole different space. So they choose, through being sovereign in their choice, how to enter a new space. As they enter the new space, it's like 1,000 other qualities and attributes and archetypes come on. So as he steps into the kitchen, the chef, the entrepreneur will come online, the nurturer comes online. So suddenly a whole different quality of attributes and gifts are available to him as he enters a new space. I've just moved out of the space.
Beautiful.
And the opposite would be to start the blame game. Babe, were you going to cook dinner, or trying to force me through words or manipulation to get me to feel like I should be in the kitchen? And if we go back to the other...
The guilt-ridden chef.
The guilt-ridden chef. Or go back to the other example where I come out as a workhorse and Jenny feels like I should do more surfer. It's almost saying, it could be that you're working too hard, you need to have a break, you got to stop, you got to look after yourself. That would just make me go, hey, I got enough pressure on me, back off. That wouldn't make me want to go down to the beach with you. But if you evoked it like you explained you would, it would. Oh, I can feel that love. Yeah, that would be beautiful. So.
And I think one of the beauties with the simplicity of the relationship code draws down the commonality of thousands of archetypes or thousands of characters you've seen on the movies or you've read in your books, and it's placed them in a space where those qualities and attributes have a way, when we turn up the volume on those, it creates a personification. So I might find in relationship my personality self with Dan takes over. And what is more useful is a personification of new qualities and attributes, which means how I feel about myself is different. How I feel about what I'm doing is different. The choices of my words, the tone, the texture of my words, the possibilities I see for the moment completely alters when I really stand in one of these simplified quadrants of 4 pieces or 4 archetypal kind of umbrellas that is incredibly simple and so clear. It takes away the muddiness. It takes away, for me, the smoke and mirrors of relationship conflict and relationship dynamics.
So that's great. So what I'm hearing is it gives you both a common language to also see where the other's at, and then what I'm also hearing is that pause and that way that you invite each other to move, knowing you can move, but it's not a forced. It's an art to moving around between these different ways of being and ways of communicating. Yeah, that's beautiful. Yeah. Okay, so I think we're going to wrap up the archetype conversation there. If there's one other takeaway you'd like people to land about the archetype structure and way of understanding human dynamics through the structure, any kind of key little nuggets that you'd like people to take away?
Yeah, for me, one of the biggest misconceptions I had, and I see many other people having, is that we're kind of fixed. It's like set in stone what your archetype is. And it's so disabling because we're so much more than just this one thing. It's like if all you are is somebody who can chop wood, if that's pretty much your only gig in life, you've only got so much value. Even if and it's nothing against chopping wood, it might be you're an amazing dentist. If all you can do is operate on people's teeth, you've only got so much value. You've only got so much ability to be, to have joy in life and love. But if you're able to chop wood or operate on people's teeth, and that real, like the workhorse 1 minute, do that workhorse, and then move into that kind of planning, strategizing the rest of your life and creating an amazing roadmap or future for you or you and your partner, and then move into this lover energy where you connect with your children and the animals and your wife, and you can feel everything in life. And then you decide you want to treat yourself or take your partner out for a date or buy your wife some flowers or something. If you can dance around all these different archetypes and energies, you just become so much more of a dynamic person. I know I was a fraction of the man I am today, and it's because of these archetypes that I can bring on. And I haven't stopped. I'm still on the journey. I know now there is so much more of all of them, and I want it all. I want all of that love and all of that power and all of that creativity and be able to feel it all of this stuff, all the archetypes. So we can move around and develop and keep growing them. That's the huge piece for me.
And I found the work with relationship archetypes, particularly with how long Dan and I have been together, over a quarter of a century together, what is so beautiful about that, it's never boring. Because I know that inside myself, I'm unwrapping the next layer of the onion, and there's a whole other part of me that's going to come forward. So I'm not relating to the man I met nearly 30 years ago. I'm relating to this evolutionary uncovering of who are you next? Who are you as well? And this. So there's no stagnation, there's no boredom, because I'm not needing to go, well, that's all of you, so I might as well go over here and find another person, because if that's all there is, I'm not in it for the long haul. So the relationship code and the way we work with archetypes, I feel creates it's like the blue zone of relationships. The longevity of relationships, I feel, is fundamental to uncovering who we are, more of who we are with the archetypes. That is a never-ending evolutionary journey into all of who we are.
Beautiful. Thank you. We'll leave this one here.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank us.